Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the window of the lunar observatory, her weathered face reflected in the reinforced glass as she stared at the blue marble of Earth hanging in the void. 25 years in the Space Force hadn't prepared her for this moment. No one was prepared. The message had arrived 3 days ago, transmitted simultaneously to every major communication hub on Earth and its colonies. It came in perfect universal standard English, a language humanity hadn't invented yet. To the species known as humanity, it had begun. I am Ambassador Excelsior of the Galactic Conclave. You must heed this warning. Stay out of the coming war. Your involvement will reshape the galaxy in ways none can predict. This is not a request. The message had sent Earth's governments into chaos. Some wanted to immediately begin preparing for war. Others insisted on attempting communication with the mysterious ambassador. But it was what happened next that had brought Admiral Chen to the lunar observatory. They had detected the quantum signatures. Hundreds of them. Massive ships hidden behind sophisticated cloaking technology that the observatory's new quantum sensors had only discovered by accident. Two vast armadas, positioned on either side of the solar system, watching Earth. Admiral, Lieutenant Rivera's voice crackled through her comm unit. The quantum analysis is complete. These ships, they're not just advanced, they're impossible. The energy readings suggest they're drawing power from, well, ma'am, it looks like they're drawing power from the quantum fabric of space itself. Chen closed her eyes, feeling the weight of command settle more heavily on her shoulders. And the biological scans. That's the strange part, ma'am. Both fleets show completely different biological signatures. One side appears to be purely synthetic, or uploaded consciousnesses, we think. The other, well, they appear to be energy beings. No physical form we can detect at all. Two ancient species representing the extreme ends of evolutionary development, poised for war. And humanity, caught in the middle, warned to stay out of it. But why? What could Earth possibly offer that would concern such advanced civilizations? The answer came that evening, in the form of a second message. This one was different. Encrypted, hidden within the quantum noise of the first transmission. Dr. Emily Santos, the observatory's chief xenolinguist, had discovered it purely by chance. Admiral, Santos' hands trembled as she handed over the decoded message. You need to see this. Chen read the message, her face growing pale. It was from a different source, hidden within the ambassador's warning. Humanity, your species, is unique in the galaxy. You exist in perfect balance between synthetic and organic, between physical and energy. Your potential to evolve in either direction makes you the key to this war. Both sides will try to manipulate you, to push your development toward their end of the spectrum. You must resist. The galaxy's future depends on your neutrality. But beware, the ambassador's warning is not what it seems. They don't fear your involvement in the war. They fear what you might become if you're forced to defend yourselves. Chen looked back at Earth, understanding dawning in her eyes. Humanity wasn't being warned away from the war to protect them. They were being warned away because something about human nature terrified these ancient civilizations. Dr. Santos, Chen's voice was steady despite her racing thoughts. How many of our quantum satellites can we reconfigure for defensive scanning? All of them, but Santos hesitated. That would mean shutting down our deep space research programs. Do it, and get me a secure line to the Security Council. Chen's reflection stared back at her with grim determination. If these beings are so afraid of what humanity might become, perhaps it's time we found out why. In the depths of space, undetected by Earth's sensors, a third fleet watched and waited. Their ships bore no markings, their origins unknown. They had been waiting for this moment for millennia, guiding humanity's development from afar. Now, as the galaxy stood on the brink of war, they would finally see if their grand experiment would bear fruit. The war that would reshape the galaxy hadn't begun with the ambassador's warning. It had begun the moment humanity looked up at the stars and dared to dream of reaching them. And now, ready or not, Earth would have to choose its path forward. The first attack came without warning. Not with weapons or ships, but with dreams. Dr. Marcus Lee stumbled into Admiral Chen's office at the Lunar Observatory, his eyes bloodshot from lack of sleep. "It's happening everywhere," he gasped, dropping a tablet on her desk. "Every major population center on Earth. People are having the same dream." Chen scanned the report, her jaw tightening. Millions of people worldwide had reported identical visions, vast crystal cities floating in space, beings of pure energy offering humanity a path to transcendence. Evolution beyond physical form. "The energy beings," Chen muttered. "They're making their move." But that wasn't all. Lee pulled up another report. "The synthetics aren't sitting idle either. Look at this. Every AI research facility on Earth just received identical breakthrough algorithms. Quantum computing solutions we've been struggling with for decades, suddenly solved." Chen leaned back in her chair, understanding dawning in her eyes. "They're not just trying to influence us. They're offering us their evolutionary paths." "Ma'am," Lee hesitated. "There's something else. Something weird. These influences, they're not working like they should." The data told a fascinating story. The energy beings' dreams were meant to inspire humanity to abandon physical form, to seek ascension. Instead, people were using the visions to create new art, music, and literature. The crystal cities appeared in architectural designs for new space habitats. The transcendent experiences were being channeled into technological innovations. The synthetic intelligence's quantum algorithms had been meant to push humanity toward machine consciousness. Instead, engineers were adapting them to enhance human cognition while maintaining biological consciousness, creating interfaces that merged human intuition with machine precision without sacrificing either. "We're not choosing sides," Chen realized. "We're taking their gifts and making them our own." That's when the observatory's quantum sensors detected new movement. The hidden fleets were shifting position, adjusting their strategies. They hadn't expected this response. In her private lab beneath the lunar surface, Dr. Emily Santos made another breakthrough. The Third Fleet, the Watchers, had left more than just hidden messages. They'd left data about humanity's past. "Admiral," Santos' voice shook with excitement as she shared her findings. "These beings, they've been studying us for thousands of years. But look at what they were studying." The data showed countless moments in human history where we'd faced extinction-level threats. Ice ages, plagues, environmental disasters. Each time, humanity had not only survived but adapted. We'd taken the very things that threatened to destroy us and turned them into tools for advancement. "It's not just about being halfway between synthetic and organic," Santos explained. "It's about adaptation. Humanity doesn't just survive change. We absorb it, reshape it, make it our own." The quantum sensors blared an alert. More ships were arriving, smaller vessels from dozens of species. Not warriors or diplomats, but observers. Word was spreading through the galaxy. Humanity wasn't choosing between evolution paths. We were forging our own. In a secure bunker beneath Geneva, the Earth Security Council received a new transmission. This one came from a coalition of younger spacefaring races, species that had been forced to choose between the synthetic and energy paths. They had a request. They wanted to learn humanity's way. Admiral Chen stood before the council, her voice steady as she delivered her report. The ambassador's warning wasn't about keeping us out of the war. It was about preventing us from showing the galaxy a third path. "And what path is that?" asked the council president. "Integration," Chen replied. "While the ancient powers evolved to their extremes, humanity maintained balance. We don't reject technology or transcendence. We embrace both, on our own terms. We're living proof that their war is unnecessary." The quantum sensors detected more movement. The synthetic and energy fleets were pulling back, retreating to the edges of the solar system. They had come expecting to fight over humanity's destiny, only to find that destiny already belonged to us. But in the depths of space, the Third Fleet continued their vigilant watch. Their experiment had succeeded beyond their expectations. Humanity hadn't just found a middle path. We'd proven it was possible to forge new paths entirely. The war for the galaxy's future was transforming into something else entirely. Not a battle between opposing forces, but a revolution in how species could evolve. And humanity, the upstart civilization that refused to be pushed down any single path, found itself at the center of it all. Admiral Chen looked out at the stars, remembering the ambassador's warning about humanity's potential. They hadn't been afraid of us joining the war. They'd been afraid of us ending it. Humanity's refusal to choose sides had consequences. The attack came at dawn. Mars' colony went dark first, then the quantum arrays around Jupiter. Finally, the lunar observatory's sensors detected massive energy signatures approaching Earth, ships from both fleets, moving in perfect coordination. They're working together, Admiral Chen realized with growing horror. The synthetic and energy beings. They've united against us. The combined fleet struck with devastating precision. Not to destroy, but to isolate. Quantum jammers appeared in orbit, cutting off Earth's connections to its colonies. Defense satellites went dark. Global communications flickered and died. In the chaos, Dr. Santos made a chilling discovery in the observatory's quantum archives. Admiral, the Third Fleet. They're gone. They've abandoned us. But Chen noticed something the attackers had missed. In the weeks since the first warning, humanity had been preparing in its own unique way. Not by building weapons or choosing sides, but by doing what humans do best: adapting. The dreams of crystal cities had inspired a new form of quantum architecture. The AI algorithms had been merged with human neural patterns. Separately, they were gifts meant to push humanity toward one extreme or the other. Combined, they became something entirely new. They think they're isolating us, Chen said, watching the enemy fleets establish their blockade. They don't realize they're forcing us to evolve faster than anyone expected. The first sign that something was wrong came from the energy beings' fleet. Their quantum signatures began fluctuating wildly. The crystalline structures they used to maintain their non-corporeal forms were being influenced by something unexpected: human consciousness. Those shared dreams hadn't just been visions. They'd been a two-way connection. Millions of human minds had touched the energy beings' realm, and in doing so, had learned to reach back. Meanwhile, the synthetic fleet encountered their own problems. Their quantum networks, designed to coordinate their vast intelligence, began experiencing anomalies. The human-modified AI algorithms they'd gifted had created backdoors, pathways that human consciousness could access and influence. We're not just fighting back, Dr. Lee realized, watching the data stream across his screens. We're transforming them. The combined fleet's coordinated attack faltered as their forces began experiencing something they'd never encountered before: chaos, human unpredictability, enhanced by their own technologies, spreading through their ranks like a virus. In orbit around Earth, the quantum jammers began to fail, not because they were being destroyed, but because human engineers had already learned to use them as amplifiers for their own quantum communications. The very tools meant to isolate humanity became the backbone of a new kind of network. The Mars colony came back online, but changed. Its inhabitants had used the isolation to test experimental quantum consciousness technology. The colony was now a hybrid entity, human minds linked with machines, yet maintaining their individuality. From the Jupiter arrays came new signals. The researchers there had merged synthetic computing with energy field manipulation, creating interfaces that could bridge all three forms of existence: physical, digital, and energetic. This is why they attacked, Chen told the Emergency Council as reports flooded in from across the solar system. Not because they feared our choice, but because they feared our refusal to choose. We're not just finding a middle path, we're proving that all paths can coexist. The combined fleet began to retreat, but it was too late. The changes they'd initiated couldn't be undone. Humanity had taken their attempts at forced evolution and turned them into a revolution. In the aftermath, as Earth's forces secured the solar system, they detected new signals. The younger races who had been watching were reaching out, not just to learn, but to join. They saw in humanity's response a way to reclaim their own destiny. And in deep space, unnoticed by either side, the third fleet reappeared. They had not abandoned Earth. They had withdrawn to observe their experiment's final test. Humanity hadn't just survived the crucible. They had transformed it. Admiral Chen stood in the rebuilt lunar observatory, watching ships from a dozen young civilizations approach Earth. They came not as supplicants or conquerors, but as equals eager to learn humanity's greatest secret, that true evolution meant not having to choose between extremes. The galaxy was changing. The age of division was ending. And humanity, the species that refused to be forced down any single path, found itself leading a transformation no one had predicted, not even the ancient powers who had tried to prevent it. The galaxy was learning a hard lesson. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technology or consciousness evolution. It was imagination. 6 months after the failed attack on Earth, Admiral Chen stood aboard the newly commissioned starship Prometheus, watching as her crew interfaced with the ship's systems in ways that would have seemed impossible just months ago. "We're not just using their technology," Dr. Santos explained, gesturing to the bridge crew. "We're reimagining what it means to be conscious." The crew members wore neural interfaces that allowed them to exist simultaneously in physical, digital, and energy states. But unlike the ancient powers, they maintained their human consciousness across all forms. They didn't choose one state of being. They inhabited all of them simultaneously. "Look at this," Dr. Lee called from his station, pulling up a holographic display of the galaxy. Red dots marked synthetic civilization territories. Blue showed energy being domains. But spreading from Earth, a new color was appearing. Purple, marking worlds and species that had adopted humanity's integrated approach. The ancient powers were facing something they'd never encountered in their millions of years of existence: evolution that refused to follow their rules. The younger races, inspired by Earth's example, were breaking free from the binary choice that had dominated galactic development. But the synthetic and energy beings weren't giving up without a fight. Reports came in of attacks on worlds that had chosen to follow Earth's path. The ancient powers were desperate to maintain the galaxy's divide. That's when humanity revealed another unexpected advantage. They understood conflict in ways the ancient powers had forgotten. The ancients evolved beyond traditional warfare, Chen explained to the Earth Council. The synthetics fight through code, the energy beings through consciousness. But humanity, we remember what it means to fight for survival. Earth's response to the attacks wasn't to meet force with force, but to spread their innovation faster than it could be destroyed. When the synthetics attempted to corrupt a world's AI networks, they found human-designed quantum consciousness protocols that adapted faster than they could hack. When energy beings tried to overwhelm planetary consciousness, they encountered human mindfulness techniques that turned their own power against them. But it was the discovery in the Artemis research station that changed everything. Dr. Santos had been studying the quantum signatures of human consciousness when she noticed something extraordinary. "Admiral," she called Chen to her lab, excitement in her voice. "We found it. The real reason they fear us. Look at these patterns." The data showed something remarkable. Human consciousness, when interfaced with both synthetic and energy technologies, created new quantum states that neither ancient power had seen before. States that suggested consciousness itself could evolve in ways they had never imagined. "We're not just finding a middle path," Santos explained. "We're discovering new dimensions of existence entirely." The effect rippled through the galaxy. Young races that had adopted human methods began reporting similar discoveries. New forms of consciousness were emerging, ones that transcended the traditional boundaries between physical, digital, and energy states. The ancient powers found themselves facing not just a rebellion, but an evolutionary explosion they couldn't control. Their rigid paths of development, maintained for millions of years, were being outpaced by species that embraced change and uncertainty. In deep space, the mysterious Third Fleet finally revealed their true nature. They weren't observers. They were survivors of an even older civilization, one that had destroyed itself trying to force all species down a single evolutionary path. They had guided humanity's development, ensuring we would maintain our adaptability. Your species, their message explained, carries within it the seeds of infinite possibility. You don't just adapt, you transform adaptation itself. This is what the ancient powers fear, and what the galaxy needs. Admiral Chen stood at the Prometheus's quantum viewing port, watching as another group of ships arrived from distant worlds seeking Earth's guidance. Each represented a civilization choosing to break free from the ancient powers' influence, choosing instead humanity's path of infinite possibility. We never needed to defeat them, Chen realized, speaking to her crew. We just needed to show the galaxy that evolution doesn't have to be a choice between extremes. It can be an endless journey of discovery. The war was transforming into something else, a revolution in consciousness itself. And humanity, the species that had refused to be limited by anyone's definitions of evolution, found itself teaching the galaxy a lesson about the true nature of progress. A year after the first warning, Admiral Chen stood in Earth's new Galactic Assembly, facing representatives from across the cosmos. Some appeared as holographic projections, others as swirling energy patterns, and still others through quantum consciousness interfaces. But all were here for the same reason: to witness the end of the ancient divide. The synthetic and energy beings had finally requested a dialogue. Not out of defeat, but out of recognition of a fundamental truth they could no longer ignore. Their war had been based on a misconception thousands of millennia in the making. Dr. Santos took the podium, her research finally complete. "We've discovered why humanity was chosen," she announced to the assembled representatives. "We weren't random, and we weren't just an experiment. We were a memory." The data she displayed showed something remarkable. The quantum patterns of human consciousness matched ancient signatures embedded in the very fabric of space-time, signatures that predated both the synthetic and energy civilizations. Before the Great Divide, Santos continued, before evolution split into synthetic and energy paths, there was a civilization that existed in balance. They didn't choose between forms of existence. They embraced them all. We are their descendants. The revelation stunned the assembly. The mysterious Third Fleet, now revealed as the Guardians, confirmed the truth. They had been left behind by that ancient civilization, tasked with finding and protecting any species that might naturally rediscover this balanced state. Your war, Admiral Chen addressed the ancient powers directly, was never about opposing paths of evolution. It was about finding your way back to wholeness. Humanity didn't need to choose sides because we never lost what you've been fighting to regain. The effect of this truth rippled through the galaxy. The synthetic beings, who had pushed toward perfect logic, and the energy beings, who had sought pure consciousness, both recognized what they had lost in their extreme evolution: the ability to change, to grow, to imagine new possibilities. Dr. Li presented the next revelation. The quantum algorithms, the consciousness sharing, they weren't weapons or tools of influence. They were attempts to reconnect with what was lost. Every gift you gave us was an unconscious effort to rebuild the bridge between your divided states. The younger races, who had been following humanity's example, were already demonstrating this truth. By embracing all forms of existence rather than choosing between them, they were discovering abilities and insights that even the ancient powers had forgotten. But it was what happened next that truly changed everything. A child, one of the first born to parents using the new integrated consciousness interfaces, showed them the future. Her natural ability to exist across all states of being, to think in both quantum algorithms and pure energy, demonstrated what humanity could become. "This is what evolution was always meant to be," Chen told the assembly. "Not a linear path toward one extreme or another, but an expansion in all directions. Every new form of existence adding to who we are, not replacing what we were." The ancient powers made their choice, After millions of years of war, they would learn from humanity, not to regain what they had lost, but to find new ways forward. The synthetic beings began exploring emotional algorithms, while the energy beings experimented with quantum crystallization. Both found that by accepting limitation, they discovered new forms of freedom. In the decades that followed, the galaxy transformed. The rigid boundaries between different states of existence dissolved. New forms of consciousness emerged, each adding to the infinite variety of cosmic life. Humanity's gift to the galaxy wasn't just peace. It was the recognition that true evolution meant growing in all directions at once. Admiral Chen, now approaching retirement, stood at the same window where she had first heard the ambassador's warning. Earth shone below, changed yet familiar. Human cities now pulsed with quantum light, their inhabitants exploring new states of being while remaining fundamentally human. "We never needed to stay out of the war," she told Dr. Santos, who had joined her for this moment of reflection. "We needed to end it by showing them a better way." The stars seemed brighter now, filled with possibilities that even the ancient powers had never imagined. Humanity had done more than find its place in the galaxy. It had reminded the cosmos of what it could become. And in the depths of space, the Guardians finally completed their eons-long mission. The civilization they had waited for hadn't just returned. It had evolved into something entirely new. The galaxy's future would no longer be defined by ancient divisions, but by the endless potential that comes from embracing all forms of existence.